AX8 is such an amazing unit, but there's such a steep learning curve that I want to do this series of videos to help out you guys who've just bought brand new AX8s. You know, you pulled them out, they're nice and shiny, you've plugged your guitar in and you want to get the most out of it as quickly as possible. So let's go with some AX8 Basics. So in order to get this up and going, you'll need a powered monitor of some variety, preferably an FRFR wedge or some studio monitors, and then you'll need a computer to run AX8 Edit. We can edit from the front panel, but it's just so much easier and so much quicker to use AX8 Edit. The software is free from the Fractal website, and if you're watching this, no doubt you've got a computer, so you can go and get AX8 Edit. So lesson number 1 is going to be about how to get a basic amp and cab setup going. Let's do it. So in AX8 Edit, you can see you've got this grid. What we want to do is on the far side, over to the left, you can see this little eye comes up, click it, and then we can see that we are presented with this menu. Come all the way across to the left and hit that O. This is going to run a virtual cable from the input to the output. We can hear our guitar sound now, the direct sound. And that's probably the most uninspiring thing in the world. So let's get started. We are going to right click one of the blocks in the middle and we'll select an amp. Don't worry about which amp at the minute, and then we will select a cab block from the one next to it. So what we have set up is a virtual amplifier and a virtual cabinet. Now it's really important to know that if you're expecting this to sound like an actual guitar cabinet in the room with you, it's not going to sound like that. It's the sound of a mic'd up guitar cabinet. So let's get going and select an amp. What I would suggest is pick an amplifier that you're familiar with in the real world. If you're used to using a Fender, pick one of the Fender models. If you're a Marshall guy, pick a Marshall. If you're a Boogie guy, pick a Boogie. What I'm going to go with is I think this is probably the one amp model that straight out of the box just sounds amazing, and it's probably sold a lot of real versions of this amp, is the Friedman BE. So let's pick the Friedman BE, I don't know, version 1. Why not? That's a really good sounding amp. And then we're going to go into the cab block and we'll select an appropriate cabinet. And you've got everything from 1x6 to 8x10 cabinets in here. One of my favorite stock cabinets is number 149, this 4x12 traditional V60 by Ownhammer. Together, this is what we've got at the stock settings, just by plugging our guitar in and making a few connections in AX8 Edit. Which sounds okay, it's really bassy. One way to do that, before you go and turn the bass down or the depth control down, do this. Go into the cabinet block and use the low cut control. I like to set that at about 80. The idea being that when you put a microphone really close to a speaker source, the high end and the low end are going to be far more pronounced than you'd be used to if you're sitting in a room with an amp. You know, you're nice and far away from the speaker and the sound is dispersing throughout you and you're getting all the reflections in the room. So let's go with that. Just by cutting a little bit of 80 Hertz, let's have a listen. You can also hear there's this really unpleasant fizz in the high end. So what I like to do is turn the high cut down to about 8,000 Hertz. And that's pretty subtle. So this is what that sounds like. But for now, just play around with the EQ. I'm quite happy with the amount of drive I've got happening there. There's a bit too much bass happening, so I'll turn that down until I kind of get to where I'm happy with the bass control. Also do the same with the depth control. That's pretty cool. I'll add a little bit of brightness with the treble control and the presence control as well. Pretty subtle adjustments for now. Let's have a listen to that. And And as you can see, I'm way happier with that. What you will notice that if you turn your monitor down, the patch will sound duller, and if you turn it up, you might get some really harsh frequencies. So I would recommend auditioning your patches at different volumes. That effect, by the way, we often call the Fletcher-Munson effect. It's great to read up about, and I will leave that for another lesson. However, let's move on. We've got a great sounding amp and cabinet for now. What you can do now is experiment with the cabinet choice. Let's try a couple of different cabs. That's just my go-to to get a kind of cool rock rhythm sound. Another cabinet that I'm quite fond of is number 73. Let's have a listen to that. This is going to sound radically different. So you can hear this one's got a really cool mid-range grind to it, which I really like. But you know, there's so many options here. I mean, we can try this 4x12 Recto with an SM57 mic. The same cab with a different microphone. Radically different results. We can try a different style of cabinet. I mean, try something you wouldn't expect, like maybe, say, I don't know, let's try this one, 1x6 oval. Who uses a 6-inch speaker and who uses a 6-inch speaker in the real world? Just out of that quick little selection, I think I like this Recto SM57 one. So for me, that's a really good tone to get going with. We'll stick with this one for now. What we'll do in the next lesson is add some effects to this very basic block that we've got going. But for now, I think we've got a great rock rhythm sound using the Friedman and this Recto impulse response. But my advice is find one amp model that you're relatively happy with and get into the tweaking aspect of it. You can have so much fun with this, and you'll learn so much about speaker choice, mic placement, and how to dial these amps in. It's really, really different to just setting up your amp and turning it up loud in the real world. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button.